Welcome to Behind the Warrior, a podcast presented by the EOD Warrior Foundation. This series will focus on resources, interviews, and topics impacting EOD warriors, their families, and the military community at large.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Behind the Warrior podcast. I am your host, Maria Schabla, and today we are very excited to be speaking with Zanna Wolfgang, who is the co-founder of Honor the Brave, and she is also the host of the Victim Survivor Thriver podcast. Welcome to the podcast, Zanna.
I'm so thankful to be here today.
Yay, I'm excited. So I always like to start from the beginning, Zanna, so can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Where did you grow up?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I moved around a ton as a kid, but ultimately spent my high school years in Sonora, California, which I feel like were some formative years where I actually met my husband and where most of my family still calls home.
Nice. Now, you have a really awesome love story that involves marrying your high school sweetheart. Can you tell us about Jeff and the journey together that led to Honor the Brave?
Yeah, absolutely. I do love our love story, and I will tell you, it's a lot of love, but there's been a lot of challenge in all of it. And I would tell anyone to embrace the hard times because, there is a light at the end of the tunnel and it leads to greater times. So Jeff and I met when we were 15 and 16 years old, which is more than half our life ago at this point.
Wow.
And so I was a sophomore in high school. We were both super shy. It kind of took our friends kind of shoving us together to talk. And I'll never forget when we finally got the courage to talk to each other. It was super brief. He just, so you're a runner, and did this funny little running thing that I just thought was so cute. But anyway.
Oh, that's awesome. You still remember that.
Oh, totally. I do. And then he was like even shyer than me, or I don't even know. We were both super shy, but I finally left my number on his truck, and he called, and the rest is history. So.
Wow. That's pretty assertive.
I know.
I love it.
Yeah. And so we just grew together. I feel like, for so long, I was just half of Jeff and Zanna because we did get together so young that that became very much a part of my identity. He went on, he knew that he wanted to be a pilot, actually a commercial pilot. And so he went to school at Embry-Riddle, got his aeronautical degree, got into flying. And then post September 11th, that was super unstable. I was a really good cheerleader, just in the background, working, supporting, and wasn't really clear on what I wanted to do outside of, I knew what mattered most to me is, having a family and being a mom, and the rest was an evolution for me. And so he pursued that and got into it, and it was amazing and a fun part of our journey. I feel like we've had so many seasons and chapters of life.
Yeah.
But when September 11th happened, the airlines became super unstable. And, at that point, we were starting to have a family, and he ended up walking away just because he didn't know if he was going to have a job next week, and ended up going into law enforcement. And he came from a law enforcement family. But he really chose it more out of stability than anything. But in that, truly found his calling. And it was really fun. I like to say, seeing the boy that I fell in love with become the man that he was called to be in law enforcement. And so it was really awesome. Just watch that evolution.
What a shift from a pilot to a law enforcement officer. That just seems so different and unusual. I wonder how often that happens.
Yeah, I don't think it's very often.
I don't think so.
Blessing, and I mean, it didn't just happen overnight. He went back to school. He was doing things. We were both working, and kind of had to take a step back, which of course was a little hard on the ego to just I think he took a job at a casino and was just doing what he had to do.
Wow.
While he pursued that calling, and was blessed to find a position at the city of Sunnyvale in California. Which was a unique department. They actually do what's called public safety. So they're fully trained police officers. They go through a 7-month police academy, followed then by FTO training on the street, then a fire academy and EMT. And they're fully trained police officers and firefighters.
Wow.
which is unique, and was for him, being the adrenaline junkie he is, was awesome. His calling was certainly more on the law enforcement side, but how the department worked, this is kind of interesting, is they had one set of upper management for both fire and police, which saved the city a lot of money to have that one set of management. And they paid their men and women very well. And so the police officers would carry their fire turnouts in the back of their car, and should an actual fire break out, so many were dispatched to a fire, would change into their fire gear, go fight the fire.
Wow.
Be really patrol. So,
that is fantastic.
Yeah, it was, he loved it. But like I said, truly found his calling on the law enforcement side. And unfortunately, he was injured in the line of duty. One day, he was a gang member in California. They have the street strike law. I don't think it's very well enforced at all anymore. But anyway, it should have been this person's third strike. He was a very violent criminal, and got pulled over in a stolen vehicle, and anyway, did run Jeff down, hit him, and led to multiple surgeries, which ultimately ended his career, which was a really dark season for us. And I know probably a lot of your listeners can relate to, a career coming to an end with injury and losing that purpose and that calling. And so watching him go through that darkness was a really hard season. It tried him, obviously, physically, mentally, emotionally. It tried us as a family, as a couple. And honestly, our marriage almost didn't make it through those trials and tribulations. Our marriage was a little shaky when that happened anyway. Mm-hmm. And then add that element on, it was a really dark season, but that's why I say, dark seasons, though they're some of the worst years, they can lead to some of the best years if you choose. Mm-hmm. And Honor the Brave is kind of the aftermath and one of the silver linings, one of the many silver linings that came from what didn't seem like could ever have anything but darkness during that time. And my background was real estate when Jeff was retired, and I was encouraging him to figure out what was next. I slowly, I tend to be super positive and just focus on the good, which is a great attribute. But at the same time, you need to meet people where they're at. And when he was recovering in a hospital bed for months in our living room, and I'm like, well, it could be worse. For him, no, I think he would have rather had been dead and died in the line of duty than to be living how he was living without purpose and not knowing what was next. And so I encouraged him to join me in real estate, to which he was like, no way.
Interesting.
And then, but then I said, what if we find a way to focus on your people, I called it, and give back. And so that resonated at the time. And anyway, that's how Honor the Brave was born. And wow. It's helpful, and it's a really great silver lining in that journey.
Yeah. Now you have a favorite saying, and it's, so what, now what? Can you tell us what that means to you?
Yeah, it's a really meaningful saying in our family. In fact, I have it tattooed on me. And our oldest son, our younger, when he turns 18, will likely follow suit. But so what, now what has just been super impactful. And kind of coming through that dark season, what we realized is life happens, awful things happen. And, some of that is at our own hand, and some of that is completely beyond our control. And we're handed hard, horrific things in life, and there's nothing we can do about it. So what, and that's not making light of it. Just the reality of we can't change it. But now what? So what, now what? And now what is where our power lies. And, through that journey, we realized that and had to take our power back. He had to take his power back. I had to take my own power back in my own right in parts of our journey. And there's just so much to be said for letting go of what we can't control and focusing on what we can. And that now what is just truly where our power lies.
I love that. I absolutely love it. And very encouraging message. So Honor the Brave, they support law enforcement, military, firefighters, and first responders. And that seems to be a growing trend that organizations are supporting all of them as a whole. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we're super passionate about it. Obviously, coming from the law enforcement fire side of things and having, a genuine appreciation for those who serve our country and all of our first responders. We just love the opportunity to give back and acknowledge that. And, I think coming from law enforcement, and I'm sure of your listeners can relate, if you get a little jaded with some of the ugliness that is in the world, and particularly in law enforcement for us, just the anti all of it and lack of support these days. And what I love about Honor the Brave is I'm reminded every day that there's still so much more good than bad. There's still so much more appreciation than there isn't. It's not what we see on the news, obviously, but the number of organizations that I've had the opportunity to become aware of, such as EOD Warrior Foundation and so many others that, give back and support the wellness and the well-being of our first responders and our veterans and our active duty military service. It's just super awesome to be aware of the goodness that's out there and the appreciation that's out there. And again, just be reminded there is so much more good than bad. We get to contribute to that in a small way through Honor the Brave.
Yeah, that is great. And so can you tell us about the mission of Honor the Brave and how you are supporting our first responders and military?
Yeah, absolutely. So anytime someone is going to buy or sell a home nationwide, they can come through our Honor the Brave program. They can reach out to us on our website, www.honorthebrave.com. And we align them with a vetted realtor partner that we have wherever they may be buying or selling. In the event we don't have someone in place yet, then I get to interviewing realtors and find someone amazing for us to align with and share with our client. And then we provide what we call Brave benefits. And so our partners agree in advance to helping us provide these. And what that is 10% back to the Brave, or as a thank you for their service. So that's our first responders, military, law enforcement, firefighters, anyone that has served or is currently serving, including, widows and spouses and widowers. 10% goes back to them of the agent commission after close of escrow. And an additional 5% of the agent commission is donated to the charity that our client chooses. The only requirement for the charity is that it does impact our first responders or veterans in some capacity. Our goal with that is, one, to create this experience of appreciation through something they'd be doing anyway. Also, this ripple effect by the charity donation. Hopefully, every transaction can just make this ripple effect impacting more lives. And then we have an active duty Marine who builds us these beautiful handmade wooden flags that we present as another token of appreciation after closing.
Wow, that is so beautiful. I love that. And I love the ripple effect. That's so much positivity. And, I guess my question would be, how many realtors do you have all over the United States now?
We've got like 275 now.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot, but there's a lot of towns in this country.
Yeah, there are.
So anyone that's interested can certainly reach out. And we try to really do a good job of aligning with people who are both great at what they do, and just obviously they share the heart for serving those who serve if they're willing to give up a part of their commission to give back.
Yeah, absolutely. What a beautiful organization. So Zanna, on top of starting Honor the Brave, which is beautiful, you have recently started a podcast, and it is called Victim Survivor Thriver. Can you tell us about how that came to be?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just layers, right? This joke, and I say at the beginning of my podcast, there's this country song that says something to the effect of our crazy, tragic, sometimes almost magic, awful, beautiful life.
I love that. What song is that? What song is that?
Life. I think it's called Awful Beautiful Life by Daryl Worley. It's probably near 20 years old now, but it just, those words have always resonated with me, even when it came out all those years ago, but those words have proven to be true to me. time and time again in life. And that's just it. It's beautiful and it's awful. It's all the things. And even when it's awful, there's beauty. And so that's part of what we focus on in the Victim Survivor Thriver podcast is finding the magic in the messy, that so what, now what, where our power lies. And I've been in that victim space, and so has Jeff, my husband. And what I realize about being in that space is we're giving up our power. And it doesn't mean that what has happened to us, any less terrible in certain circumstances, but to choose to stay in that victim place, we're giving up our power to whatever that awful thing might have been. And so I am really, really passionate about sharing stories and tools and resources of people moving from that victim space to more of that survivor space. And it's the same thing. The tragedy or the trauma or whatever occurred is the same thing, but you're taking your power back by viewing yourself, just shifting your perspective on, I'm a survivor of this thing that tried to conquer me versus a victim of this thing that tried to conquer me. And so just for me and Jeff, watching him go through it too, like, oh my gosh, just having that perspective shift can truly change how we navigate our lives. And then Thriver, that layer to me is just like, if I could have everyone just thriving in life and love, relationships are hard, life is hard. And, how we choose to look at things. And now I look at it like all the things that have happened along the way didn't happen to us. They did. Mm-hmm. They also happened for us. And while there were some really dark, awful things and seasons, they have led to who we are today and the way that we're able to impact today. And so they're just blessings in all of it. And so thriving to me is just seeing that in every day and finding the things to be grateful for in every day and pursuing our dreams and goals. And we get to do that because of people that serve, like our veterans and our first responders. And anyway, I can go on and on because I just passionate about it, but that's what it is.
Yeah, I love it. So, it's just such a powerful message, taking your power back and changing your perspective. It doesn't change what happened, but it can change your life, to be more positive and more fulfilling. So tell us about the podcast. So what kind of interviews are you doing and all of that?
Yeah, I just like sharing real people's stories of navigating whatever adversities they might have navigated. And while, we can't relate to every adversity that someone else has navigated, I certainly can't relate to some of your EOD Warrior recipients, what they're navigating, because I haven't lost what they've lost. But there's something relatable in everybody's adversity stories. And I think I just love people coming on and sharing about what they have been through in their life, in their relationships, how they moved through that, and what the magic and the messy is in that. Because I think there is always something beautiful even in the hard stuff. And I know I can say that my worst years are also truly some of my best years. When I look back, I found out so much about who I am, my strength, and I really got to just show up in a new way, and I feel so much stronger for the adversities I've been through. And so my hope is to offer hope, resources, insight, and love through other people's stories, through my own stories, so that we all know we're not alone. We all have stuff. I think it's so easy in these days, especially, to be looking at the highlight reels on social media and think someone else has it together more than us, and someone else, isn't going through what we're going through. We're all going through something. And I just want everyone to know that there's always hope, and, and have conversations around what helps us find that hope.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know I read somewhere that that stories are cathartic for us. Theater, movies, and just the stories help us to heal, and so I'm trying to remember who it was who said that she listens to your podcast at work and she cries every time. So all of her coworkers are like, are you listening to Zanna's podcast? Oh, so funny. So awesome. Take a listen, folks, if you want some story therapy. And get some inspiration. That's so exciting. Now, in addition to this podcast, you've also recently started a Thriver retreat in beautiful Bozeman. And I was lucky enough to attend and had an amazing experience. But can you tell us about how you got the inspiration to do this retreat, and what is it?
Yeah, it's just so many layers, right? And that's just keeping the layers of things that light me up.
Yeah.
And I hope it lights other people up. And so the Thriver Tribe Retreat is currently for women, because I am a woman, and while I want to support our men, I just don't think I can do it as well. So right now it's a Thriver Tribe for Women retreat. And so it's an intimate group of anywhere from 6 to at most 10 women in a beautiful space here in Montana. And Montana in and of itself, and I say, is just, it's meant to heal people. There's something about the magic of the big sky and the bold mountains, and just being in this space alone, I think offers such a blessing to anyone who gets to experience it. And I know it's been a part of our healing by moving our family here. But that said, and it's an opportunity to come and just relax a little bit, because I know most women are running all the time and doing all the things. And so it's a minute to just come and be still, and reflect, self-reflect, and really dig deep, get uncomfortable, with a group of amazing women there to support you, and just get clear on what's possible for you that you're not considering. Because I think, I know myself, my dreams have gotten so much bigger than they ever were, because I realize what's possible. And I think you ask people often, what are your dreams? What are your goals? And most people can rattle off what they don't want. Mm-hmm. Most people don't take time to consider, like, if anything was possible, what are your hopes and goals and dreams without those limitations, and get clear. And I think we limit ourselves so much in our mind. And so this Thriver Tribe Retreat is just a minute to come up for some fresh air, to get uncomfortable, to consider what's possible, and come home kind of transformed with new perspective on how you can navigate the world and make those dreams a reality.
That's awesome. So tell us about some of the activities that you'll be having at these retreats.
Well, they will vary from season to season, because, obviously we have snow in the winter, which will incorporate many things. Snowmobiling was one of the adventures that you came, which
yes.
It's such a reflection of life, because we had people getting stuck and crashing and all the things, but navigating it and working together to get through it. And
it was wild.
and so that was the adventure this winter. As the seasons change, those adventures will change. But it's a little opportunity to experience one of our little local restaurants. Everything is included, from accommodations to all the food, including when we eat out. We'll also be doing yoga and breath work and learning about personality profiles, and just really digging deep in who am I? How am I showing up? How do I want to show up? And letting go of some stuff. We take the opportunity to be grateful and consider those hopes and dreams, but also take a minute to review what maybe we need to let go of that's in our way, so we can move forward towards those hopes and goals and dreams. So I value people's time and dollars so much. And I'm really confident that this is an investment that will be worth it for any woman that chooses to come participate.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can vouch for it, because it was a transforming weekend. I think it was an amazing experience for me to kind of get away, like you said, from like the busy, I'm a mom, I've got my job, and I've got a million things I'm trying to do to take care of my family and my friends. And it's like, you just kind of take yourself out of that, and you can really do some work there. And I'll say, I live in Florida. I consider myself like an island beach kind of person. That's where I thrive. And being out there in the middle of these massively beautiful mountains covered in snow, was just an amazing experience. And the snowmobiling was a serious like challenge for me. I was like scared to death. And I kind of felt like, we did go through a lot, but everybody like helped each other and we made it through, whatever obstacles we came up to. But I left that feeling like, wow, if I could do that, I think I could do anything. So that was kind of my magical takeaway. And I felt really empowered by it. I really did. And just being surrounded by these lovely women that are kind of in the same space where they want to be able to dream again and believe that their dreams can come true. I mean, it was a gift. And I think the friends that I made there will be lifelong friends. So myself, I've experienced it and I believe in what you're doing, Zanna. And I encourage anybody who comes across this opportunity to take the chance, take the chance and see what they're capable of and meet some friends and just give yourself that space to realign maybe your sails in your life. And what you can accomplish. So it's just inspiring and beautiful, what you're doing. And I just appreciate it so much. I also want to say, 2 other things I experienced for the first time was, moonshine and, Rocky Mountain oysters, which we won't go into that, but I did not know what they were.
The oysters, but you knew what the moonshine was. You just had
I had heard of moonshine. I'd never had it. But, when you're out there in the cold, I'll tell you what, that really does warm you up. So
it's a little warm and fuzzy. It's good for the soul. And you know me, I love to celebrate and look for the things to celebrate. And moonshine is a great way to.
And it was made by your husband. So
it was, yeah. He just
homemade.
This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was delicious. And it was apple. Was it apple?
It was apple pie, yeah.
Apple pie moonshine. Very good.
Call it Funny Farm Shine, which is another year of my journey. And I like to say the crazy of me that I have embraced. And, you don't even, that's what's so fun. And that's part of this weekend, right? The Fibertide weekend retreat is, I didn't even know having a funny farm was a dream of mine until I opened up to what was possible, for goodness sake. But now I have what I call my funny farm, and I have a store called Love and Shenanigans of all inspirations by the funny farm. But I have alpacas and goats and kuni pigs and cows, and that's incorporated into the retreat for whoever wants to participate with, coming and visiting with them and doing chores. If you want to, you can opt out as you did, Maria, after the first day, which is awesome too. But
I'm more of a people person than an animal person.
Awesome. Anyway, there's so much joy in their spirit, and there have been so many layers of evolution to what is possible in my life that I never thought was possible. And so that's part of what I would love to instill, both through the Victim Survivor Thriver podcast and then those who get to actually come experience the retreat, is just opening up to the possibilities around us that we've never considered.
Yeah, I love it that you're sharing that part of you, and inspiring other people to kind of get through the fires of your life and come out transformed, and not staying in the victim mentality. I love it. And the funny farm, the big red cow, what was its name?
He is Rowdy, and
Rowdy.
He is Highland cow. He's beautiful.
He is like magical looking. I was so taken back when I first saw him. Just a beautiful, beautiful animal. So you'll have to tell Rowdy I said hello.
I will tell him you said hello.
So one of the things we talked about at the retreat that I was personally very excited about was vision boards. Can you tell us about your vision board and how it actually may have helped move you to beautiful Bozeman?
Absolutely. I am so, again, just passionate about the power of visualization. And I've seen firsthand how impactful that can be. And so years ago, we started doing dream boards. Actually, at the time I was still in California with our office, Aspire Hometown Realty. And we were going to do a dream board building session with our office, kind of starting off the new year that year. And that was the year we ended up moving to Montana. And could I have told you that was a possibility at that time? No, absolutely not. And so what's so crazy about it is I did it. And Jeff, I don't know, being that more skeptical mindset, he's like, rainbows and butterflies.
Yeah. And you're like, no, it's real.
So we did it at the office, and all the things that were on my dream board were things that came to fruition in that year that was truly mind-boggling. I had this beautiful, I had mountains and wide open spaces on there because I knew I wanted to experience that. It's kind of how I grew up, but it's not how we were living. And I knew that I in my mind, I thought that was like maybe having a cabin somewhere someday, but I had marriage 2.0 on there because we were still navigating kind of coming out of the hard season of our marriage and the aftermath of that. And I honestly didn't know if our marriage was going to for sure last at that point. Like it was a rocky season, and I knew I wanted it to, but I didn't know we were going to get there. But anyway, so I had marriage 2.0 on there and just a couple other things that were super specific on my dream board that year. Mind you, fast forward, everything shifted in our marriage for the better. We kind of got some great resources that truly impacted. Kind of that's where we got the so what now what that really we harnessed both in our individual lives and in our relationship and what was possible. And that year was a major shift for us. And going through that, we realized, well, life is short. So why not pick our perfect canvas? We kind of went from that, if only we could do this or do that, to why not? Why can't we? Why can't we pick our perfect canvas and move our family there? And so Montana evolved from that. And what's so funny is, that cabin and those mountains and that wide open space that I had on that dream board turned out to be Montana, but I didn't know that when I put it on there, or that Montana had a possibility of a place I was going to move my family to out of nowhere that year. Fast forward, Jeff had gotten into executive protection too. So we have Out of the Brave, but he did get into executive protection following, his recovery, and a family he was working with visited Montana. And so that's how it came on the radar. And I will never forget, he hey, I was getting ready to go into the office one morning. He's like, hey, check out Bozeman, Montana. I think it's what you would walk away from everything for. And I'm like, okay.
Ooh, that gave me the chills.
Yeah. And because I had said, I was open to everything, but I didn't know what that looked like. All of our family was an hour from us, we were very involved in the community. So I was open, but didn't know what it looked like.
Yeah.
And check out Bozeman, Montana. Mind you, he'd been throwing other things at me too. And I was like, yeah, no. Anyway, so I got on the computer and started looking at Montana that day, and specifically this area. And even the reasons not to move here were reasons I would move here back then. And it's just, I like that small town. I like wide open spaces. I'm not afraid of wildlife, all the things.
Wow.
So
yeah.
Literally by 11 o'clock that day, I was blowing up his phone and I'm like, we're moving to Montana. Like, well, you haven't been there. Maybe you should go first. I'm like, yes, go confirm that we're moving there. And literally that next week we went to a real estate convention in Las Vegas, and we were there and the speaker was talking to us, and he said, this is your life. You're writing your story. You write your story.
Wow.
You are the hero of this story. Pick the story you want to write and write it. Pick your perfect canvas. And so that kind of reiterated. This was just a couple days after this Montana thing, came up. Jeff and I had already planned to go to Montana to look at it. And we realized in that moment, we're like, yes, we need to go. And yes, we need to bring our boys with us too, because this needs to be a family decision. So he's on the phone. We're supposed to be going to dinner to meet one of our best friends who was, I had been working with Aspire Hometown Realty, and we had created that together. And, anyways, so we're meeting her for dinner. Jeff's on the phone trying to change the reservations to add the boys to the flight. And we're guilty knowing that we're thinking this. And and we're going to let her down, because we were in partnership and so as friends and business and all the things and all the visions included each other doing this together. And how was I going to walk away from that? And I remember just the guilt that I felt with that, but being really clear that like, this was a move we needed to make. And then that night, I'm rattling on, so stop me.
No, you're fine. You're fine. It's a great story.
That night we went out dancing a little bit, and Lisa, my friend, and I went to the restroom, and we came out, and she was talking about just how excited she was to go back and all the things we were going to do. And I came out and told Jeff, well, I don't know how I'm ever going to tell Lisa that we are going to maybe walk away. He's like, so we can't move? I'm, well, no, you're moving, but I don't know how I'm going to tell Lisa. And anywho, then we got back. He and I went to dinner together, and we like talked about all the things we were going to implement from this convention we went to. And I'm like, and I'm moving to Montana. Like,
oh, no.
And I just explained my clarity with it. And she goes, I mean, this was through tears and a couple glasses of wine, but she's like, if you told me you were moving to New York, I would be like, no. Mm-hmm. She goes, this is you. And and she was so supportive. She was also hoping that we were going to come and visit and hate it. But we loved it. Next month, we fell in love. We went home, put our house on the market, and we moved our family to Montana. And it's crazy how when you get clear on what matters and what's possible, how things just fall into place. And that's what happened for us. And mind you, Jeff now does a dream board every year. Like, oh my gosh, everything you had on there became reality. And now we both do that with our kids every year. And it's been so awesome to watch those things become reality. And is it some magic thing? If you just put some stuff on a board, is it magically going to happen? Absolutely not. But taking the time to get clear and really consider, what are my dreams? Because we don't do that. Mm-hmm. But really get clear on what matters. And the home we live in now that you visited, I remember when we were looking for that, I knew that like we knew we wanted land and more property. I didn't know that a funny farm was going to be a part of that land. That's been another layer. But, as we were looking at homes and things, what I got clear on is I didn't care about the house. I wanted a porch with a view. And I cherish time I've spent on my grandparents' porch with their acreage and a view. And so I wanted mom and pa's porch so that I can be mom and pa someday. And
that's so sweet.
Yeah. And when I got so clear on like, the house doesn't matter. Like, we'll figure out the house. Like, we can make the house what we want. It's the porch with a view. This house showed up, and it should have been unattainable financially. It shouldn't even have been possible. But we found it. We fell in love with it. And for whatever reason, the stars aligned and it happened. And so, again, just the power of visualization and being clear on your dreams and why they're your dreams. I wholeheartedly believe in the power of that.
Wow, manifesting. That is just an incredible story, and I'm so excited about the dream boards. And actually, I have reached out to a couple of my good friends, and tomorrow at 1:00, we are doing our dream boards. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I'll have to let you know how that goes. But I think another point of it that you had made is like that once you did it, that you put it somewhere that you saw like frequently. Is that?
I'm looking at it right now. It's above. I look at it every day. I try to take time every day to like really look at it, not just have it there. Mm-hmm. There's days that I let the day go by and it is just there. But most days I stop and I really look up at it and take that in and feel how I'm going to feel when I'm in that space or have achieved this thing. Like, the power of just taking that time to be in what that vision is, mm-hmm. I think super powerful.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, how exciting and fun. So I kind of want to wrap this interview up with how would someone get more involved with Honor the Brave? If it's a realtor that says, hey, I love what she's doing, I want to be part of it. Or if it's somebody that's looking for a house right now and they're, and they want to go through your program because it sounds so amazing, how would they get in touch with you for that? And then the same for the podcast. How would somebody be able to listen to your podcast?
Yeah, absolutely. So Honor the Brave, as I mentioned earlier, you would just visit www, it's that W now or it won't go, .honorthebrave.com. So you go, you can contact us. There's a contact form on there. If you're a realtor, you can specify that you're a realtor, or if you're someone that's going to buy or sell and want to go through the program and have us align you with a realtor, you can fill out that information. And my phone number and Jeff's phone number and emails are both on there. So literally you can just reach out to us that way too, if that is more convenient for you. You can learn more about the Brave benefits or reiterate what that all looks like and just really see the heart behind what inspired Honor the Brave at that website. And then as far as all the other things, I should have this memorized. Obviously, it's Survivor Thriver podcast, so you can find that on any of your podcast platforms. But as far as the Funny Farm, I have a link tree, but I don't have it memorized. So let me look at it for you, and then maybe you can include it in the show notes for them.
Yes, absolutely. I will do that.
But if they go to my link tree, then they can find all things Victim Survivor Thriver, all things Funny Farm. And so that is, oh dear, 1 second. I apologize. I should have had this ready, or I should have it memorized, but I do not. Okay, so if you go to Linktree, it's Linktree/love the letter N shenanigans. So Linktree love and shenanigans, and all things Victim Survivor Thriver and Funny Farm are there. Love and Shenanigans is what I call my Funny Farm store. And that was a layer prior to Victim Survivor Thriver, but it's all, the heart's all the same. So that's where you can find all that information.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Zanna, thank you so much for sharing some time with us and letting us know about all the great things you're doing to help first responders and military. And then really just putting all this positivity into the universe, and trying to uplift people and help them to be their best selves and thrive, not just survive. And I think it's amazing work that you're doing. I'm so grateful that we got a chance to hopefully share your message.
Well, I'm so grateful for the opportunity and just being in relationship with you, and anyone that wants to know anything about my journey or all the things, I truly am here to be a voice. So reach out.
Well, thank you so much, Zanna, for being with us. And we wish you the best in all of these things, these wonderful things that you're doing.
Thank you so much. Have an awesome day.
You too.
Thank you for listening to our Behind the Warrior podcast, brought to you by the EOD Warrior Foundation. The EOD Warrior Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization serving the EOD community by providing financial assistance, scholarships, and providing hope and wellness resources for the active duty, reserve, National Guard, retired, and veteran EOD communities and their families. We also honor our fallen and wounded EOD technicians by maintaining the EOD Memorial and Remembrance Garden. We do all this through the generosity of individual and corporate donors and sponsors. If you would like to assist the foundation or support our Behind the Warrior podcast, click the link on our webpage at eodwarriorfoundation.org or contact us at info@eodwarriorfoundation.org. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to tell a friend. The various opinions, beliefs, and viewpoints expressed by guests, contributors, and participants of the Behind the Warrior podcast are their own and are intended for informational purposes only. They do not necessarily reflect the opinions, beliefs, viewpoints, or policies of the EOD Warrior Foundation or its employees and volunteers.